first of all, I want to thank you, Wura, for putting up this bootcamp.
Thank you, Coach Wura. You are a blessing to us in this bootcamp and to your generation at large.
Coach, you are amazing. I love your teaching. I love how you are genuinely teaching us and you genuinely want us all to be successful and to start right.
Thank you, Coach Wura.
And thank you, Coach Wura, for investing in the next crop of fashion entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And so you're a fantastic teacher, being able to break down to the nitty-gritty in the simplest of ways that even a baby would understand and be able to implement.
I have never had so much thinking about my business. Like, my eyes are just opening every day to new things.
And I'm really grateful for this platform because it has made me to realize that in order to be successful, you have to build systems.
It has really been an eye-opening journey for me. I finally understood the power of having clear, standard operating procedures for my business.
I have never seen a more consistent person in my life. The kind of way you inspire us, even we are ashamed to give excuses in the bootcamp. So for me, Wura is a real deal. Go and check her out.
Thank you so much, PFA.
I'm really proud to, call you my coach.
Thank you, Coach Wura.
God bless you.
Profit and growth. Tonight, we're going to be exploring the topic of pricing. Through the course of the week in the academy, we have been expatiating on how profitability is directly correlated to pricing and how growth is directly correlated to pricing. And this evening, we are exploring further on the topic of pricing. Now, our anchor scripture today is taken from 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 18, and it says that a laborer is worthy of his wages. A laborer is worthy of his wages. All right, can you confirm that you can see me and you can hear me? All right. Please confirm that you can see me and hear me. I think my network went off for a little while. Okay. All right. So since through the course of our time in the bootcamp, we have explored the topic of pricing. Okay. I think we're back. I think we're back. All right, I think we're back. Um, good. So, you need to understand that pricing is your voice in the marketplace. Pricing is your voice in the marketplace. Okay, good. Can you confirm that you can see me and hear me? I've been having terrible network issues. In in Nigeria and in sub-Saharan Africa, when you have a little rain, somehow the network starts to shake. I don't know if we should not have rain, but we've had rain today and the network is shaking, but we are not shaking, we are here. Right. So you need to understand that your price is your voice in the marketplace. Your price is a sign of your stewardship of your gift. So I say it all the time that your tailoring, your craftsmanship, that's a gift. And your price is a sign of how you steward that gift. If you price right, then you steward well. And if you do not price right, then it means that you're actually taking your destiny. I used to say to my mentees, I say, is your destiny a joke to you? You're actually thinking that your destiny is a joke to you. So your price is a sign of your stewardship of your gift. So let's run. You know, in Genesis 29, we see the story of Jacob. And we are told about how Jacob worked a total of 14 years. So he first worked 7 years. He wanted Rachel. He was given Leah. And he said, no, this is not the wife that I actually wanted. And then they said, okay, if you want this wife, you have to work for another 7 years. And he said, no, wala. Abby's work. I will work. So we see that he worked because to him, Rachel was that valuable treasure that he needed to actually get. And his work was recognized. So when you price fairly, you honor God, you honor your craft, and you honor your customer. And so pricing is both reflective of the value that you have for yourself, for your crafts, for your stewardship of your gifts, and for your customer too. And we're going to explore how all these things tie together through the course of this life. So why does pricing even matter? Good evening, Ifoma, you're welcome to this stream. So why does pricing even matter? Because pricing is equals to positioning plus profits plus purpose. It's a combination of all those. Pricing is a combination of your position in the marketplace. What position do you want your brand to occupy in the marketplace? I remember I used to have a friend at that time when blogging and influencing was just starting out. She used to call her brand name the Style Cheapskate. So naturally, it meant that, her brand was for people who were looking for how to style themselves on a budget. Now, over the years, she started this brand when she was about 2021. But over the years, she has evolved that brand. And the brand now answers her name brand. And the brand is now positioned as a premium brand. And she has now been able to command, very high prices when she's either influencing for you or shooting a product video for you and all that. But she wouldn't have been able to command the prices she commands now, even with the value she's putting in, if she was still calling herself the style cheapskate. Because by its very nature, it will tell the position that that brand was occupying in the marketplace. And that's what I need you to pay attention to. Branding is a key part of positioning. Positioning of your products in the market. It is that distinguishing factor. Pricing is the distinguishing factor that makes people say, oh, this brand is in this level and the other brand is in the other level. So they will first see the price, and then after they see the price, they now try to now see if your value is reflective of the price. And that's what now determines if the market is going to accept or resist that price point. And so pricing is a big identification mark for where you are placing your product in the marketplace. Now, pricing also is a key to profits, because we can't be here talking about profitable fashion brands if we're not talking about pricing. If you have an excellent product, your product is top of the line, wonderful garments, wonderful finishing, everything on point, but then your pricing is not reflective of that product, you are going to quietly walk your way into bankruptcy. And why would that happen? Especially, of course, I'm talking to ready-to-wear brand owners or aspiring ready-to-wear brand owners. So especially if you're in the ready-to-wear space, it is so easy to get lost in other people's prices without having an understanding of why those people even have those prices in the first place. You now say, oh, I'm doing a two-piece. I saw these people online. They sell that two-piece for 25,000 naira. So I think I'll put my two-piece at 25,000. Now, you did not consider what unique circumstances makes it possible for brand A to sell that two-piece set as 25,000. You've not considered their production capacity. You've not considered if the brand owner is producing herself or if she's hiring. You've not considered if she has a shared space or if she has a single production space. You've not considered if she has family members working in her studio who she's feeding at home, and so she doesn't have to pay labor. You don't know the indices by which people arrive at their prices, but yet you copy those prices. And that doesn't even make sense. So that is why by the time you finish copying that pricing with your own indices, you see that by the time you do your profits and loss statement at the end of the month, that pricing is not making sense. You can't find your money. And of course, you won't find it because you did not consider your unique circumstances when you put a price on your products. It is your cost, your perception, the profit you want to make, your growth strategy. Those are all the things that combine when you're pricing, not just the cost of goods. Cost of goods, I say, is the lowest multiple factor. Is that not what we call it in math? LCM. It's the lowest multiple denominator as to price. All these other factors which we are going to explore have to come in when you're pricing. So, a wrong pricing is a silent killer because you will look busy. You will be busy, busyness, choke. You will look busy, but you will stay broke. Yes, you'll be busy and unprofitable. And nobody wants that at the end of the day. We want profitability. That's what we want. And that is why Luke chapter 14:28 tells us that, for which of you intending to build a tower will not first sit down and count the costs? Pricing is counting your costs. It's counting the cost of what you want to do as a person, of what you want to bring into the marketplace. Pricing is the way by which you count that cost. All right, so let's move. So let's explore key pricing terms. I've attempted to explore these in the bootcamp, and please, if you have questions, don't wait until I finish. Put them in the comment section. I will address them when I'm done, but just put your questions in the comments. Again, like I say, if you don't ask me questions, I assume that you understand. I assume that you know, and I assume that you're implementing. So if you don't understand, if you don't know, if you're not implementing and you're not asking me questions, that's a loss. You paid me to hold you accountable. You paid me to lead you. And I will not know if you are okay if you are not asking questions. So let's start with the first key term: revenue. 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 Put it in the comments. Revenue. Revenue is what you bring in. It's the total income, the total amount of money that comes into your business per time, whether it is per day, per week, or per month, or per year. It is your how much people buy from you per time. That is your revenue, right? It's simple enough. Revenue. The next pricing term is cost of goods. Cost of goods. Cost of goods. And I say sometimes we call it cost. So, cost of goods. Now, your cost of goods covers your direct garment costs. So, the direct costs that you deploy in making a garment, that's your cost of goods. Now, it can be your fabric, your trims, tailoring, business expenses, overheads like NEPA, rent, internet, packaging. All those things contribute to your cost of goods. So, cost of goods are the direct garment costs. Do we understand that much? So if you want to make my jacket, your cost of goods will be the cost of fabric for making this jacket. It will be the cost of the lining on this jacket. It will be the cost of the interfacing on the jacket, whether it's the stay or warden or whatever you used, the collar stay and all that. That will go into your cost of goods. It will include the cost of labor for making that dress. It will include the cost of labor for making that dress. Now, I feel that much is understood, right? Now, let us move to, and for this labor, let me quickly expound on labor. Now, if you have tailors that are paid on salary and not on pay per outfits or commission, as the case may be, your cost of goods will not include tailoring. Those salaries of that tailor will go into overhead because it will now depend on how much you are spending as overhead per time. So cost of goods are determined by per time according to the structure of your business. So if you don't have tailors, if you have tailors in salaried employment, then your cost of goods is going to cover those tailors. Your cost of goods is not going to cover those tailors, rather. But if your tailors are paid on commission or they are paid per piece, then your cost of goods is going to include the cost of those tailors. All right. Now we move to the next one, which is your overhead. Overhead consists of the business expenses. Now, I'd like you to think of overhead like what, how the sun comes out or the rain falls. Whether you wake up, whether you don't wake up, there'll be daylight and there'll be nighttime. It's immaterial whether you wake up, daylight is still going to dawn. That's how I want you to think about the concept of overheads. Whether you work or you don't work, you are incurring overhead costs. And overhead costs include things like your rent, power, internet, packaging, salaries. So you have an admin officer, you have a cleaner, you have a runner. Overhead costs include the salaries you're paying those people. If you like, you work. If you like, you don't work. Those people will still collect salary. And that is overhead. Now, markup is the profit you add on top of those costs. The profit you add on top of those costs. So you have a dress that is 20,000 for cost of goods and overhead put together. And then you say, okay, let me add 40,000 to this. It means your markup is 60,000, right? So 60,000 is your markup. 40,000 is your markup. So your total cost is 60,000. So 40,000 will now be your markup. Now, what is your margin? Your margin is your net profits, because you can have gross profits per item. So on one dress, you can have gross profits. But then when you look at your entire economic expenditure in that month, you may see that your margin is even less than, say, the 40,000 is like 100%. So it's like 200%, right? It's like a 200% markup. But by the time you finish everything in the business that month, you may see that your profit margin is not up to 200%. Why? Because you run a ready-to-wear brand. Not everything you produce will sell at the same time. So at every point in time, you're going to have things hanging on your rack which are not sold. And those things are affecting the bottom line. And so your margin is what is left after you've deducted all your costs. That is your true gain. It's called your net profits. What is left after everybody has collected their own, including your dead stock, including your inventory. After everybody has collected all the things they want to collect, what is left? That is your margin. I hope we're following up to this point. All right. So you need to have clarity of these numbers, because if you don't have clarity of these numbers, then you're going to just find yourself not equipped to deal with it. So you have to have clarity of numbers to actually be able to work out these things. And that is why Proverbs 24:3 says that by wisdom a house is built, by understanding it is established, and by knowledge it is filled with good and beautiful treasures. So you have to actually know these things. All right. So let's go into the mathematical formulas, right? Let's go into the mathematical formulas. So now, this is a simple example. The first thing I'm exploring is your selling price. So your selling price will be your cost of goods plus your overhead times your markup plus 1. And this is a very conservative selling price. Very conservative selling price. As we go on the topic of pricing, and Tim, can you put all that in the comment section so that they are able to actually follow through? They're able to actually follow. So as we go on in the topic of pricing, you're going to now see how you can now develop using this framework as just a guide, right? Now, if for instance your fabric is 7,000 naira, I've given an example. So if your fabric is say 7,000 naira, your tailoring is 5,000, you paid a finisher 1,000, overhead was about 3,000, you now have a total of 16,000, right? Now you now say you want to mark up 100%. That is 100% of 16,000 is another 16,000, right? So 16,000 times 2 is 32,000, and you're putting that as your selling price. Now this is a simple formula. This is a simple formula. Margin is your net profits. Margin is your net profits. What happens after everything is deducted? Margin is your net profit. Markup is what you add to your costs to get your selling price. Now, after you finish selling, you get your gross profit. But you can only calculate net profit after you have calculated everything else. The cost of goods you have left in the store, your inventory, your dead stock, depreciation, whatever. It is only if after you've calculated all those things that you now know how much you actually made, your true profits. And that is what your margin is, your profit margin. I hope that explains that. I hope that explains that. All right, let's move. So you have to keep an eye on the base numbers. You need to know how much you're spending on this course because that's the foundation of your pricing. But that's not where we stop. So let's keep moving. So we're going to go into the 5 P's of pricing. The 5 P's of pricing. The 5 P's of pricing. Put it there. The 5 P's of pricing. Now, a mentee asked me, do we need to put the 5 P's of pricing every time we price? And I say, well, whether you put it consciously or subconsciously, it will come in, whether you like it or you don't like it. So, what is P1? What is our first P? Our first P is position. And I explained this a little bit at the beginning part of this webinar. Position. Where does your brand sit in the marketplace? What marketplace do you want? What position do you want your brand to occupy in the marketplace? Do you want your brand to be a luxury brand? Do you want your brand to be a premium brand? Do you want your brand to be an affordable brand like the the style cheapskates? Where do you want your brand to be positioned in the marketplace? Of course, positioning your brand depends on, number one, your product, but first, your customer. Every position of brand in the marketplace always starts with your customer. And that's why you see this winning customer personal webinar that we have, the Know Your Fashion Customer webinar. In all you do, make sure you don't miss that webinar. Go and I think boot campers have a further discount. So right now the early bird fee is 14,999, but I think those in the boot camp get it for 12,999. Pemisola is going to share with you, the details of how to register. Jump in there, because by the time the early bird fees goes up, boot campers fee will also go up. So yes, we like to reward people who take action. In all you do, enter that webinar, because you see, a lot of positioning with pricing starts by understanding your customer. If you do not understand your customer, you cannot position your pricing in a way that makes sense for that customer. That's the truth. You can't. So positioning in pricing tells us what value does your product occupy in the marketplace. That's what positioning does. All right. So what's the second P of pricing? What's the second P of pricing? The second P is perception. 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 And what does perception pricing mean? All right, I'm going to break this down as much as I can. Now, sometimes you buy a product. For those of you who have ever bought a copy item from China, you will know that if you see an Hermes copy or a Chanel copy that comes from China, and you see the Chanel that you buy from the Chanel store, they are literally almost identical. Unless you are a high-end luxury buyer, and then of course Chanel actually gives you the certification for its items and all that, you won't even know the difference. But so essentially, people who buy designer brands buy into perception pricing, because it has nothing to do with the actual cost of those goods. No, because designer brands have already positioned themselves as luxury in the market, they price their goods based on perception. So they look at this bag and they say, how much do we think that this bag will cost? They are not talking about the actual cost of making that bag. And that is why I say that the formula I gave you is the most elementary way to price. They are looking at how the market is receiving that product. So they are saying, and that is why luxury brands invest a lot in data collection. So they send this to those in their A-lists. They send it to their A-listers and they say early access, VIP early access. Or they have Haute Couture Week, where they actually showcase all these things in Haute Couture Week in Paris. Usually it happens in February, late winter, so that before spring is coming, they are bringing out their collections. And normally what they do during Haute Couture Week is that they are actually able to see what the customer thinks about each design. So when you go for Haute Couture Week, the things on the runway don't have a price yet. No, they haven't yet been priced. Now, part of why those things are not priced is because they are trying to get perception. When they know the perceived value of that item through the interaction of the customer with the item. So maybe you see a lot of people coming after the wrong ratio to say, that's the look I want. I want look 1, look 2, look 3, look 4. You gather data, you see that you have 50 people on that look. And then maybe on another look, you have maybe 5. You know that look has a perception price. So now, it will not matter if that look was the cheapest look in terms of price of production in your collection. You will price that look higher because people think that is a more superior item. So that pricing is not based on cost. It is based on perception. What is the market interpreting about that price? I hope we are together. All right. So perception pricing is one of those pricing mechanisms that you must put in if you want to be able to scale profitably. Because if you, I said to my team, there are some, you would notice when you start interpreting your data, and data interpretation is something that we do in the Wearable Wealth Circle. Is a different program. It's for, fashion entrepreneurs who are on a growth path. Now, if you are reading your data and interpreting your numbers, you would know that you have some items that perception will work well on. And those items sometimes are the items that keep you in business. They are the items that keep you in business. Items that you look at it and you can't even guess the cost of making it. And because of that inability to guess the price, you put a price tag based on what the market places, based on the value that the market places on that item. And that is why it is called perception pricing. All right. So now let's move to psychological pricing. Psychological pricing. Now, of course, in all you do, you should know that numbers trigger buying decisions. Yes, numbers trigger buying decisions. Many times you see something that is 29,999 and you say, oh, it's still 20 something thousand. Oh. But you've forgotten that it's just 1 naira less than 30,000. Do you have a 1 naira kobo? 1 naira coin? We don't even have a 1 naira coin. But somewhere in your mind is interpreting it as 20 something K. And because it is 20 something K, you somehow convince yourself that you can buy it. Right? You somehow convince yourself that you can buy it because it is 20 something thousand naira. So instead of putting round figures, it's always good to have, I call it fragmented figures. So 32,450, 37,850, 37,920. This is why it makes you feel like you really thought and you really did the calculation to the last. Like you did not just say, oh, let me just slap on a lazy price. It makes it look like you did your maths. And you should do your math anyway. But yes, it makes it look like you did your maths. And everybody likes to look like they did their maths. And so psychological pricing is just that. Numbers that trigger decision. All right. So now let's move. Excuse me. All right. So the fifth P, okay, well, number 4, the fourth P of pricing is profit. It's profit. So without profit, you are running a hobby and not a business. You know why we say it here now? If your business is not making money, why are you even in business? So without profit, you are running a hobby and not a business. So profit is the number 4 P of pricing. Your price must give you profit. That is so self-explanatory. I don't even think I need to go into it. Your price must be structured in a way that gives you profit. Full stop. If your price doesn't make you profitable, you have not priced right. End of story. Capiche? Your price doesn't make you profitable, you haven't priced right. And I think that is really that about that. Now, let's go to number 5. Let's go to number 5. And number 5 is purpose. 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 Purpose has to do with stewardship. Today's topic is pricing as a key to stewardship, profit, and growth. The 5th pricing is about stewardship. Now, what is stewardship? Stewardship is the ability to grow what has been given to you. It's the ability to stay on the assignment and dig until it bears fruits. That is stewardship. When Jesus passed the fig tree and the victory was beautiful but fruitless, he told his disciples, if I come here, this fig tree is not bearing fruit, I will cut it down. Your pricing can make you that beautiful but fruitless fig tree. You can be a beautiful fig tree and still be fruitless. That's what pricing can do. And that's why it's important that you price well, that you price right, that you price profitably. Now, when you put a price on your product, you have to ask yourself that, does this price align with my God-given vision? So every day I say, Wura's vision is to own a garment factory that empowers women fashion entrepreneurs to create their own fashion lines without the drama of tailors and all that. That's my ultimate vision. Am I there yet? No, I'm not. But I know it's my vision. And because I know that it's my vision, I know that my business must be able to grow to afford to buy a factory or build a factory or build a production line that is producing for other fashion entrepreneurs. If that is my vision, my pricing must give me room to keep growth capital that enables me fund that vision. Where will the vision be funded from? It will be funded from the business now, because the vision is part of the business. So if my pricing does not pay attention to that vision, then you see a situation where I don't actually have the right things. And so pricing is a key part of our stewardship. It's a key part of our stewardship. All right. So you need to make sure that you know your vision. And you need to look at it and remember it when you're pricing. Because if you do not price as a visionary founder, you will find yourself 10 years from now still in the same point where you started. Still sewing out of the room in your father's house. Still sewing out of the room in your husband's house. Unable to move to a small shop, and then a medium shop, and then a big shop, because you did not price well. And when you hear that people are making money from fashion business, you say, what is people that can lie? Are they making that type of money? It's not us that told you not to make money. You're the one that refused to price well. You're the one that is charging 2 kobo and 10 kobo. You're the one that doesn't have a vision for your brand. And so your price must align with your God-given vision. Your price must align with your God-given vision. Because if your price does not serve your purpose, it will sabotage your profit. That's the truth. If it doesn't serve the purpose for which you are created or for which your fashion brand is created to serve, it will sabotage it. And that's something we must pay attention to. All right. Now, let's now look at the other variables that we must consider when we're pricing. I liked it when one of my bootcamp participants in one cohort, I don't remember which of this, after the pricing week, she actually went back into her systems, followed the framework, and she came to me and said, Coach, do you know what? I realized that I've been giving out my clothes for free because my pricing did not consider all the components, including my dead stock and my discounts. So we're just pricing based on one index alone. So here's a reality check for you. You need to understand that not every piece that you own will sell at full price. Are we together? Not every piece you own will sell at full price. And if you know that not every piece you own will sell at full price, then you have to consciously impute that when you're pricing. And that is why, for some of us who already own fashion brands, you have your staff saying, oh ma, customer is asking for discount. Oh, how much would I give for discount? But do you know that your discounting strategy should be imputed in your pricing, such that your customers and your team members know that we cannot discount beyond this margin or beyond this margin. Once it goes beyond this margin, we can't go below it because it means that we will not make money. And what that does for you is that it removes emotional discounting. In our pricing clarity guide, or it's in the pricing SOP, there's one of them. We talk about how to actually, okay, yes, it's in the pricing SOP, the discount SOP. We have a discount SOP. We talk about how to discount, because you can't discount anyhow. If you are emotionally discounting, someone will say, you know, now this thing, it's too expensive. Oh, you just say, just take it. Okay, it's 40,000, but because it's you, just take it at 25. Meanwhile, you're giving away your whole profit margin. And that can only happen because you were not paying attention to your price. You're not paying attention to your price. All right. So you want to remember that not every piece sells at full price. So you need to pay attention to that. You need to make allowance for discounts, for dead stock that silently eats your profits, and put it in their pricing. Because wise brand price with markdowns already in mind. And that's why I say don't copy anybody's pricing strategy. So now imagine a brand that's already priced and put a markdown, and then they come and say, okay, we are giving 20% off. But guess what? They had already put a markdown, and they had sold some pieces with that markdown in view. So they have made an extra margin on those other pieces they sold full price, which now compensates for this markdown that they have now put. I don't know if you're getting me. So now you, that you did not put any markdown, you now say, these people, they are selling this type of top and trouser like I sell, and they are giving 20% discount. I think me too, I can do 20% discounts. That's how you go about losing money. So wise brands price with markdowns already in mind. So you have to prepare for famine. Joseph prepared for famine by storing in plenty. He didn't assume that every year will be fruitful or profitable. He prepared for famine. So pricing without foresight is like harvesting without storing. So you're harvesting, but you're not keeping any grain back. And storing now brings me to the topic of profit allocation. So for some businesses, you actually price well. You're pretty okay with your pricing. But where you now make a mistake is how you allocate these funds. So you've done your work, you've priced well, everything is good. But then you now make money from your business. Let's say in that month you made 100,000 naira. Then you carry this 100,000 naira. You take everything, send it to your supplier for fabric. And then you start praying. You did not allocate any to marketing. You did not allocate a certain amount to reinvestment. You did not allocate a certain amount to your reserves. You didn't allocate a certain amount to wealth building for your business. You just carried everything complete. And you went to actually invest in fabric. Now, because you did that and you don't have a marketing budget, your ads are not selling. You can't run ads. You don't have more eyes looking at your business, so you can't sell. Profitability comes from what you do with money, not how much you earn. And so if you're taking nothing away from this live today, I want you to go and do a profit allocation pie chart. Well, I think that's going to be also shared in the academy. For every profit you make, you can split it this way, and this is a sample. You can split 30% into the business. So reinvestment in your business, whether it's fabrics, machines, training, whatever, reinvestment in your business. You can split 30% profit into that. Then, for 20% of your profit, you can put it into marketing and ads. You can put it into marketing and ads. I'm going to drop this example in the comments. Then, for another 20%, you can put it into wealth building. So investing in shares, investing in ETFs, investing in treasury bills, and other forms of saving that can help to grow your business. Because there'll be seasons that are slow and seasons that are low. But it is what you did in your season of plenty that will sustain you through your season of famine. And these seasons come, whether in life or in business. And that is why you must make sure that a portion of your profit goes to wealth creation. If you invest a certain amount of your profit, the money you invest today will be bigger tomorrow, and you are not doing anything to grow it. It's growing by itself. And then with investment comes this thing called compounding. So you're able to put in a certain amount every month, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you must create a budget for wealth building. And of course, you want to be able to pay yourself so that you're not constantly dipping your full hands and two legs inside the business. Some of us, our businesses cannot grow because the problem that you have put on the head of that business, even the business itself is tired of you. You want to make your hair, business. You want to buy clothes, it's business. You want to buy around crayfish, business. Everything is on top of your business, so your business can grow. But when you pay yourself as a CEO, and of course, you need to work out a realistic pay. You need to have a pay structure, whether it's salaries, bonuses, clothing allowance, whatever it is, so that you know how much you need to actually generate in revenue so that you can pay yourself how you want to be paid, right? Because when you pay yourself as a CEO, then it actually helps you streamline how much business money you're actually spending. So, of course, the last is rewards, reserves. You have your emergency rainy day. So, you need to have an emergency fund for your business so that if anything happens, if all else fails, okay, there was fire in your business without insurance, okay, water damaged some of your things, all those kind of things. You are not starting from ground zero. You have an emergency fund that you've already built that would help you to bounce back. So you need to create at least 15% in emergency fund. And it can be 10%, it can be 5%. Whatever percentage you want to allocate, it's your own pie chart. Allocate it, but by all means, allocate something. Because profit is not just for spending, your profit is seed for scaling, right? Your profit is seed for scaling. So, what do we take out of this class today? What are our action steps? What can we take out of this class? Number one, price one garment. I've given you this exercise already, but I'm giving you again. Take a garment and price it using the formula that I have taught you. Ask yourself what's the position you want this garment to occupy in the market. What is the perceived value of this garment? What is the psychology that you want to use for this pricing? Will it give you profits and will it fund your future growth? Is it serving your purpose? So create a profit allocation pie chart also to determine the how much of your profits goes to all these things. A lot of all these things are explained in detail in the 1 year program, simply because there's only so much I can do without holding your hand. And that's why in the 1 year program we actually have like financial experts that come in during pricing week to tell us how to collect data and how to actually use this data to set a budget for each of these lines and how to track that budget, whether we need to reduce it, we need to increase it, and all that. So you need to create a profit allocation pie chart and just determine what percentage of profit you're putting where. And then, of course, decide one pricing shift to apply this week. Decide on one pricing shift to apply this week. So, I try to keep our live sessions 1 hour, under 1 hour, so that it's bite size and it's easy for you to catch a replay, all the time. Remember that you must be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Numbers, numbers, numbers don't lie. Numbers testify of your stewardship. So make sure that you're stewarding well. All right, make sure you're stewarding well. All right, so I'll take any questions that you have. I'll take any questions. Let me go through the comments and see if we have any questions. All right, so said for beginners in business, how does one ascertain revenue? Revenue is simply what you make. So if you had 10 dresses for sale and you sold 2 today, that's your revenue for today. If you sell another 2 tomorrow, that's your revenue. If you sell all by the end of the month and you make 500,000, that was the money that each dress was 50,000 and you had 10 dresses. That's your revenue. 50,000, that's your revenue for the month. If you had 10 dresses and you sold 8 dresses and you made 400,000, that's your revenue for the month. So revenue is simply what you make, what your total sales are. That's revenue. That's the simplest thing, right? I hope I've answered that question. All right, do we have any other questions? Do we have any other questions? Of course, you can always ask your questions in the community, and I'll always be there to answer them. And if you ask a question in the community and I don't answer, it's possible I wanted to answer and I forgot, or I even created the answer and forgot to drop it. So always reprompt me that, oh, coach, this one is still pending. All right. Okay, so in the absence of any other questions, as always, it's always a good time right here in our Profit Circle webinars. I remain your one and only profitable fashion coach. My name is Rurala Obaka. And if you go with nothing tonight, remember that pricing is the stewardship of your gifts. It is how you multiply the gifts that God has given you. Because the biblical injunction was never ever preservation. It was always multiplication. And that's why in the parable of the talents, God called that talent who did not multiply wicked and lazy, because he did not even understand the nature of his master. His master was someone who wanted multiplication. And it doesn't matter the margin by which you multiply. Whatever margin you multiply by, you will still hear well done. If we look at that parable again, I'm supposed to be going, but let me just, I don't know who I don't know who this message is for, but God just dropped it in my spirit, so I'm going to say it. If we look at that parable again, when the master came back to the servant who had 5 talents, he said, who had 5 talents, who multiplied it, he said, "Well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your master." To the one who had 3 talents, he said the same thing to him. He said, "Well done, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of your master." He did not say, this person that has 5 talents, he made more money than you. No. It's always about stewardship of your own gifts. So when the person who had 1 talent did not multiply it, God was not angry that he did not lose the money. God was angry that you don't even understand that anything you do, I will still say well done. I will still say enter the joy of your master. You will still get the same reward according to the limit of your ability. So the danger is to do nothing. That's the danger. But as long as you do something, you are stewarding the gift God has given you as a destiny role, God will still tell you well done. And that's why we also look at the parable of the master who had people come into his vineyard. The person who came in the morning got the same wage. The person who came in the afternoon got the same wage. The person who came early evening got the same wage. The person who came in the night got the same wage. It doesn't matter when you are starting, but you have to do it right. Because no matter what time of the day you start stewarding, God will still tell you well done. Pricing is a measure of that stewardship. So make sure that you steward well so that you will hear well done. Have a good night, Profitpreneurs. Remember, our daily live goes live at 8:30 p.m. and we'll be right here again. All right. Have a good night, Profitpreneurs. I will see you in the Profit Circle.
First of all, I want to thank you, Wura, for putting up this bootcamp.
Thank you, Coach Wura. You are a blessing to us in this bootcamp and to your generation at large.
Coach, you are amazing. I love your teaching. I love how you are genuinely teaching us and you genuinely want us all to be successful and to start right.
Thank you, Coach Wura.
And thank you, Coach Wura, for investing in the next crop of fashion entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And so you're a fantastic teacher, being able to break down to the nitty-gritty in the simplest of ways that even a baby would understand and be able to implement.
I have never had so much thinking about my business. Like, and my eyes are just opening every day to new things.
And I'm really grateful for this platform because it has made me to realize that in order to be successful, you have to build systems.
It has really been an eye-opening journey for me. I finally understood the power of having clear standard operating procedures for my business.
I have never seen a more consistent person in my life. The kind of way you inspire us, even if we are ashamed to give excuses in the bootcamp. So for me, Wura is a real deal. Go and check her out.
Thank you so much, PFA.
I'm really proud to, call you my coach.
Thank you, Coach Wura.
God bless you.